Hello, everyone. A slightly later one than usual for one more 100 Days of Comics. This is day 11. Day 10 went on stream, as sometimes we are kind of shared hosted there. Um, I will start doing, obviously, we have many days in front of us, and I will start doing quite a few of these editions on my own Twitch channel. Um, Today we are working on. Well, I did take um, a break off on Sunday as I usually do. Today is Monday, the 29th of October 2018. I'm trying to space out my streams as much as possible. I'm trying to do only one a day. Friday we had the interview with Eric Weathers, cartoonist and letterer. So I avoided doing 100 days of stream, 100 days of comics. Then the one on Saturday is the one I mentioned earlier on. That was on Twitch, streamed on Twitch, and Sunday we had a little rest. Today I've been working on these two pages, which are to function back to back like this. I'm having a bit of trouble here as we're going off screen. Uh, this is basically an area of the book. This is issue 5. These pages belong to issue 5, and this is an area of the book where I'm gonna allow myself a little bit of. Well, I'm gonna get a little bit more adventurous in these pages. I'm going to allow myself a little bit more of a free hand. Um, so this is the follow up. As if you guys have been following these videos, these streams from the beginning. The first couple of them, well, the first couple of days where I was penciling some pages, you and inking as well. You've seen probably what I call it's my Stargate sequence, where one of the main characters, which is a virus, gets reduced to his normal size, which is the microscopic size, and he goes into this microscopic world that I call the null ground. In the null ground, you will come face to face with a series of other virus and bacterias that that basically will have a taste and a feeling for what it is to live in the microscopic world as a some sort of unicellular being in this world, just like the world in Tron, where circuits are avenues and um, several several computing terms are visualized as characters of a kind of flesh and bone. Here in this world, diseases, viruses, and other things alike that we all know are personified as monsters, as creatures. So I have over the years designed a gallery of um, of crazy monsters. I particularly like this guy called the Admonisher. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got these tree-like antlers, an exposed brain, tentacles like an octopus that serve as almost like hoofs on his feet. And he's got these this weapon here, a heavy stone-like weapon. And funny things happen when you work in a team. For example, when I passed on this original conceptual art of this guy to a colorist, just to have it colorized, just to have an idea of what he's supposed to look like, and as also to have it as a reference for future colorists when he actually gets to color these pages. She actually made this into a bubble of blood, which I found interesting. And just because of her doing that, I straight away kind of changed the script a little bit. This was just only supposed to be a mace, and that was basically nothing. So he would just hit people. Well, he would just hit adversaries with this thing. But because she filled this up with a kind of a red tint, I kind of imagine, well, this is actually a cool idea because every time he kind of pierces an opponent with these things, he kind of sucks whatever is inside the opponent, and he gets to fill up this bubble and then uses it for something. I don't know yet, but that's just for you guys to realize that sometimes a colorist can send can add something to a story. Well, this is a particular case, a very special case, but I'm not saying that just because colors change the colors on something that you go back and change the story. That's usually not the case, but it's just for you guys to see that working as a team always has a lot of fruits, provides a lot of fruits to a story. Can be a very fortunate thing. This is another one of the main characters. I never had the patience to complete this guy. Oh, sorry about my yawns. It's already getting late. Monday is usually a difficult day for me. Um, so many tentacles. I only filled up half of it, or even less than half of it. I just wanted to make sure I had the right weight and the right mass. He's one of the. He's kind of a boss man there in the underworld, this microscopic world called the Null Ground. Um, he's got tentacles and a few claws, and he bosses people around. He's the boss of the other previous guy. So you're gonna hear a lot of this world again, the Null Ground, when you finally get to the end of issue 4 and the whole of issue 5. So issue 5, the final issue of my comic book series, Chromosome 96, then is planned at the moment as a 33 pages book. Now again, I that might extend. It might extend because, as I said, there's a few sections along this particular issue where I want to stretch my legs a little bit. I want to go a little bit more exotic in the narrative because it gets a little bit abstract. It becomes basically two sides to the same story and two conflicts. One is a verbal conflict on the outside world, so our plane of existence, our dimension, where two main adversaries, the main good guy and the main bad guy, are going to be um, talking it out. And at the same time, there is a physical conflict in the microscopic world where this virus guy, one of the other main evil character, will be battling out in the microscopic world for supremacy and fighting his own nemesis. Eventually, the actual actions in the microscopic world go from physical to verbal, and the other conflict in our dimension becomes more physical and less verbal. So it is a challenging idea, and it is, again, like all the other issues in this series, is a concept book on its own. Each issue is basically a concept work, and so I'm having a bit of fun with these pages. Basically, I'm again, it's not necessarily going off script. Again, we're going a little bit more kamikaze with these pages here. So basically, what we have here is the virus guy awakens in this dune Sea of Dunes, which is basically a desert, opens his eyes, gets up, stands up, sees something in the horizon. As something in the horizon becomes bigger, as kind of approaches him slowly. That's him looking over the distance, following up from here. Then here we get, I just filled up some figures here, just really placeholders. And again, this is me eyeballing the original layouts on the thumbnails. And this was supposed to be a, these 2 pages here were supposed to be a full bleed, but I didn't really like the way it was going. I found it to be a bit cumbersome for the reader. It was going to be a lot of separate panels, which don't necessarily need to be there. So I kind of took this one out, replaced this one for a more full body vanilla pose here, and then I took all these panels and put them in a different page. I want to avoid doing full. Um, when I say full bleeds, I meant 2 page spread. I want to avoid doing 2 page spreads unless they're really, really necessary. And there will be a few in this book. After all, it's the final issue, big climax. I mean, we want to make, a couple of spreads with a big splash art all over the place. The book deserves it, and it's great art when it's well done, and hopefully I'll have the energy to do it. But when it's not the case that I want to make a spectacular scene, I want to avoid that. Not that, definitely not for um, narrative pages. For expository pages, I want to avoid that. So we're breaking this down into 2 pages, and today this is going to be a short stream. I'm just going to try and figure it out if they're actually really working. They will be. They will not be side by side. Actually, this one will be. The final book will be like this, I think. So yeah, this one definitely need panels. Although I'm doing. This will be the. This will be the trim line. So there'll be a bleed here on the sides, and we're gonna have these very long. I like panoramic shots. I like kind of widescreen shots a lot, especially because the American US comic size is not very big, and is a rectangular format. So I always want to. I it's kind of a it's kind of a it's kind of a familiar place, really. But I do. There's 2 ways you can go about in the construction of panels, as far as I do them. You can go very long horizontally and take advantage of the space of the page, or the most logical way to do it, to go about it, is to make vertical panels, more vertical-ish panels, more vertical act, taking advantage of the format of the book, which is rectangular. I don't necessarily like to do a bunch of widescreen shots, but I just always have this idea in my head, and again, this today will be cool to see what the process here is and share it with you guys. Maybe you'll have some ideas you can drop in comments. But I always have this idea that my mind a lot of times, my mind's eye works in kind of Panavision shots, and for one side is good and cool, for another side, the result might not be as cost effective and as pleasant to the eye as I believe it is. But for example, this particular page here, I got this first long panel and an insert panel of the creature opening his eyes. Like he's long. This is an overhead shot of the creature in a fetal position, basically. So I just drew him like this, just as a placeholder, right? And then here we got him opening his eye, basically. It's gonna be, this is his nose, nostril. maybe his mouth, his side of his head. Then here we got his speed lines of him just kind of sitting up. And straight over here at the end, in the background, you see a little cloud of smoke there, and this is the horizon line of the dunes. And this panel here, again, bleeding on the corners, so you will bleed out of the pages on either side, but not at the top. There's a gap here at the top. It will be just a gutter there, a white gutter. But these two panels are touching. They're touching, so it's one right after the other, because it makes sense, because it's one event followed by another event followed by an immediate other event. And then here, boxed out, but kind of dropping out of the panel as it is a continuous action. And this is the grammar of sequentials, at least the way I've learned and the way I always try to spill it out on my pages. It's a sequence of events that should be perceived by your mind like dialogue, like like poetry, like the rhymes and the chorus of a song, or obviously the most easiest other example that I can think of, obviously, is cinema. Editing in the movie. How the scenes correlate and join together. So because this really is a zoom in of that, I box it out of this panel, and then followed close by this, which can be read either way. And again, this is another panel stuck together with the previous one, but is wider. So this is the thinnest one, this is slightly wider, and this is the widest one. It goes up to here, basically cutting all the way to the bottom here. First problem that I got is this here. Now, again, this part is okay, so it's a zoom in of that, and spills out of the panel because this is him looking at the distance, and he's basically looking at this. He's looking at what we're looking. So this is both his point of view and our point of view, as we are behind his back on this final shot here, on this shot here, but not on this one. This one where he's vanilla pose here. We're actually looking at him sideways. This is the hill here of the dune. This is a bigger zoom in, and again, this creature that is coming over the dune is like a mirage, so he's all distorted. But as he's getting closer, you slowly start to get a feeling of what he looks like, and then here you show him completely together with his minions in his chariot and all that. So it's an entourage of creatures coming over in the desert. The only problem that I got here, I think this construction works better than my original thumbnails, which was all together kind of. It kind of worked, but again, it was a lot of panels and mixed together in these two pages. I don't think it really did any favors to the narrative. So this is more streamlined. But the only problem that I got here is this: is that the overlapping of these two inserted panels, I'm not completely happy with it. One thing I've always learned is, never waste a panel. A panel has to tell you something. It has to tell you something that is important for the story or for the action or whatever. But don't just waste a panel. I mean, it's a thing that you'll find in a lot of comic books. There's a lot of wasted panels and a lot of dead space that could be used for something useful. Again, if it is aesthetically pleasing, sure, you can do a lot of dead space, but it has to serve a purpose, even if it is just for aesthetics. And yeah, I mean, this panel here overlapping that one very close to the subject. This corner here, I'm not entirely sure. I can move it a little bit more this way, but then it kind of the triangulation of this, like going from here to here, from there to here, and then you zoom in into this bigger panel here, and this is the full creature on show. I think this is the way it should work. I'm just not sure about that. Then here, this guy here is that guy that I showed you on the concept art. He's one of the minions that is on his chariot. That is, it's quite an oddball idea. Is that the tentacle guy, which is the boss, is the actual creature pulling a chariot with his minions sitting on top comfortably, waiting for him to, do whatever he needs to do. So at first glance, he looks like he's just a creature of burden, like a donkey or a horse, but he's actually the guy in charge. So there's that guy, close up of him. Then here we got another problematic panel. Initially on the thumbnail, this was going to be this is this guy here, so it's the virus. Um, this panel here was going to be him sideways with these two minions and their weapons approaching him from this side. So he's going to be a plain old-fashioned standoff. Now the panel, as you can see, hopefully you can see, it's kind of squared out. Now that sort of shot to be perfect for a panel like this, a nice long panel. Because we're going for the square panel here, I got now two options. I can silhouette these guys. I can silhouette them here as this is their backs. You're looking from behind them and they're walking forward to him. But the thing is that because he's already taking a lot of the panel, there won't be much space for me to kind of describe them through their backs only, and they're only going to be partially seen here. This one here is going to have the advantage because it's got a close up there, and that one, okay, you can be here and could be recognized by having his antlers here and all that. But then this guy, and he's not going to be very well shown because again, if he's silhouetted, it means that all this is dark. This is dark here. So he's only just a figure, basically. The other problem that I got is I'm going to show the weapon of this guy, which is a really cool, kind of a scimitar with his chains. His part of it is a nunchuck, and the other part is like a sword on both ends, attached through a attached with a chain. And again, I won't be able to show his weapon properly, so I'm not sure what to do with this panel here. These two panels here are the easiest ones. There's a weapon coming down, which is this mace, and our creature here holds it with his hand, stops it, but he gets wounded because these things here, they pierce his skin. One of his attributes is that he can, his skin can close up after any damage, so he can actually be broken apart, and all his body parts can rejoin. You won't be able to do that here in the null ground. His powers are cancelled out. And in this other shot is the other weapon from the other guy, that weapon I just described, also kind of cutting his arm off, or just cutting his hand off and chaining him up, and him discovering that he cannot bring himself back together like he's used to do. And the final panel here is him on his knees, kind of on one knee and a bent leg, with the arms kind of arrested. And here, yes, and here definitely you'll have just the legs of those guys as he falls to the ground here, to the sand, and finds out that he's screwed. He's basically being owned like a bitch. So there you go. Okay, so let's start working on this. Okay, we should start here from the top. Starting to cleaning this up, and adding some some textures. These textures. The other thing in these pages is I want to make him more want a lot of attention to the content here because I want to make him more humane in these pages. This bad guy, this virus guy that has been annoying everybody since the beginning of the book. I want him to be a little bit more. How can I say? Not harmless, but I want to make him more sympathetic, so to say. These rivets here. Right back, guys. Just gonna send a link. If anyone wants to drop in. You have all night to do that? You don't? needed that. Right. Okay. Now, what face should he be making? The eyes only tell half the story. Are you sure what to put in the lips? I think he's unhappy. The hell is this place I just woke up in? But again, I don't want to make him too angry in this final issue. I want to make him sympathetic. That's part of the idea behind the story. So this is Dune. He's got his face shoved in. Okay, so we go sketching, and then we finally finish it. Right. Now. I'm gonna get some references for that Mirage there. Now we're gonna work on this guy here. I'll prefer to do the top first, but I want some references for Mirage in the desert, so just gonna clean up this guy here. By the way, an announcement for this channel. We will be start doing some movie reviews weekly. That's going to be a show that I'm going to be doing with a good friend. And the concept behind it will be, so you're hearing it here first, by the way. Concept behind it will be that we'll talk about a modern movie that could have, well, a recent movie that could have just been released in the theaters, or that could be released on DVD or Blu-ray, or DVD and Blu-ray, meaning home release, basically. So it could either be in the theaters or home release. And the idea is that we review a recent movie, and then we review a old movie. Oh, sorry, it's a big mess here because the microphone is attached to me. So it's like a double review, so you get a old movie being reviewed after a new movie is reviewed, and both movies are in some way connected. Basically, that's the whole idea. So they're connected in some way or another. My friend, which is a little bit older than me, is gonna do the old movie review, while I'm gonna do the new movie review. And they're in the same show, these reviews, yeah. You want to show me the hurt, do you? I'll show you the hurt. There you go. So you got it? Is you got it? Okay, more? There you go. And a little bit more sideways. Oh man, I miss the 80s. Some of you might miss the 90s, some of you might miss the 70s, some of you might miss last week. I miss the 80s. Something about it. It's a bit more buff now. I'll show a nice spot here on this guy. Love male nudity. All nudity is beautiful. He's androgynous, by the way. Doesn't like an angel. Doesn't have any sex. It's more of a gird here. He hardly has any neck, but his head is a bit bigger. It's more like this. A bit higher. I can't do anything right today. It's not coming out. And I've done a warm-up sketch before. I don't know. Right, so I was heavy. Ooh, that's getting very pasty. Not erasing very well, so I can have the outline still here. So my hand is bigger. Strokes up here. So the arm fold dropping a little bit less. See the thing I want to make him. Be more relaxed here. Actually, a little bit more. Try with the arm closer to the body. Yeah, moving on to this guy here. If we have, go to the center here. I mentioned before, there's a very nice rubber by Faber-Castell, which leaves no residue whatsoever. I can't use the gum rubber. I think that a lot of guys use. I can't use that because for me it sticks everywhere. I don't like it. It leaves stuff. It leaves residue. But there's a rubber by Faber-Castell, and he's amazing. He just eats green. That's the only thing. Okay, now we got this guy has big eyes, like really popping out of their sockets eyes. Got this huge hypnotizing with one, two. It's got one pupil in the middle, then one, two irises in each eye. And they're huge, really huge. Not to confuse with Mascanata. Mascanata. No, there's nothing to. I created this guy much before that. This kind of a beak, blisters all over. Not really big, but it's just really big lips, basically. Yeah, okay. It's gonna be again. It's gonna be like a Max Rebo kind of thing, isn't it? Gonna be. Yeah, she's copying the creatures out of Return of the Jedi. Yeah, not really. A bit, yes. Got a lot of kind of double teeth. Again, mouth is much bigger, like the mouth of a frog. So his face is all blistered. So the only way his face exists at all is because of these blisters. The blisters make the face. The lip is also blistered. Disgusting. Repellent. Disgusting creature. Blisters everywhere. Now this creature, although it has a bit of Jabba the Hutt kind of um, part in the story, is actually modeled out of that guy from Dune, the Baron Harkonnen. Yes, because of all these blisters. I've actually called this guy Frey Rabat, which is a similar name to one of the Harkonnens. So maybe some people will get the reference. Maybe they won't. It's not a copy. It's just a reference. I want his eyes to be bigger. Bigger. Much bigger. don't need to be straight either, these eyes. Of course, drool everywhere. This is a lot of work with the tentacles. They all come out of his head. They all serve a purpose. Either to hold him in place, either to be threatening, either to make him walk. No tentacle is bigger than the other, they're just different. It's gonna give a lot of work, guys. This is work for the whole week. These 2 pages, I'm afraid. So, well, at least for tomorrow, we'll go heavy on it for a good 3 hours, and then Wednesday we might be able to finish both. So follow me tomorrow and the day after as we try to crack on these 2 pages, because there's an introduction here of a lot of characters, and they're all very crazy characters. So. Alright, guys. I will be seeing you tomorrow. After. Have a good night or a good afternoon. Bye bye.